It was on April 20th, 1999, where two students opened fire at Columbine High School in Colorado, killing 12 students and one teacher. Since that day, there have been a number of school shootings across our country, and now in a series of interviews, the New York Times is reporting that much of what is happening today can be traced back to Columbine with followers known as Columbiners. For more on this, I'm joined via Skype by Julie Turkewitz, who worked on the research and is a New York Times correspondent based in Denver. Julie, good morning to you.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So in your piece, you talk about the teenage gunman in Santa Fe, Texas, how there was similar clothing, similar weapons used compared to those who were responsible for Columbine. Is Columbine basically the model for what we are seeing today?
So I actually, as you mentioned, I live here in Denver, and I've spent quite a bit of time getting to know some of the people who were involved with the initial attack back in 1999. And I think in talking to them, it is astounding because many of them never quite realized that we would be speaking about this 20 years later. I, in particular, spoke at length with Frank DeAngelis, who was the principal in 1999 at the school when the attack happened, and went on to work there for another 15 years or so. And even he has said that he believes that this has become the model for all these other schools, and that he actually now travels the country trying to help schools dealing with this very thing. And he, as well as many other people, were sort of astounded by the fact that this has become sort of, as you said, the model for so many of these other
So
attacks.
It's not just an act, Julie. Are we talking about an ideology here?
I think in some ways, yes. I think that the young men, because in the vast majority of cases it is young men who both plan and carry out these attacks, are not only attracted to the idea of destruction, but are specifically interested in the thoughts and feelings of these two young men who carried out the attack in 1999, and will often study what they did. And I think feel that these two young men in some ways represent the same frustrations that they have with their current environment.
When we look at the shootings that are taking place today compared to Columbine in 1999, and I remember Columbine very well, I was in Colorado on that particular day, social media wasn't around, and I'm trying to think, why are we seeing more and more of these in recent years? Yeah. Maybe social media is one reason. What are some of the other reasons you think that we're seeing these more frequently?
Sure. I mean, I think that there are a number of things that are happening. The 1999 attack took place right at the point when 24/7 news was really, competitive 24/7 news was really taking root. And so those images sort of were rooted in people's minds. I remember exactly where I was when that happened, and I remember seeing the images. And then you saw immediately the sort of takeoff of the internet, right, and social media. And so all of the imagery and all of the journals of these gunmen have been able to sort of proliferate throughout society. And, I spoke also at length with Sue Klebold, who is the mother of one of the gunmen, and she also sees this contagion, and she attributed social media as one of the reasons that her son's honestly terrible legacy has been able to live on.
You talk about the news cycle. When it comes to the Parkland school shooting, the alleged gunman had this video that was released of him talking, and in it he says, it's going to be a big event. When you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am. So my question is regarding us in the news media. How much of a role are we playing in this, and do we need to change things when it comes to coverage of school shootings?
Sure, and I think that a lot of the people that I spoke with for this piece, and a lot of the people that I spoke with for many of these stories, I actually was in Parkland right after that attack. Many people have pointed to the role of the media, and I think that all of us as a society are asking the question of how do we inspect this storyline with the rigor that it deserves, because these are terrible things that are happening, while also not participating in a glorification, right? And I think that the New York Times has taken the decision that a lot of it is about tone. And we will name some of these gunmen, and we have taken the stance that it is important to explore their identities and explore what was going on with them so that we as a society can identify gaps that are allowing these things to happen. But for example, in this particular piece, we didn't name any of the gunmen because we felt that the focus, the particular tone of this story should be on the phenomenon as opposed to the individual roles that the individual identities of these young men. And so I think that all of us as a society are asking these questions, and that it's worthy of inspection, and that all of us have the responsibility to take the right tone and to be responsible.
Very interesting. Julie Turkewitz with the New York Times. Julie, thank you for your time, and have a great weekend.
Thanks so much. You too.